I'm Stuart Baker, and I lead on strategy and program development at the LEP. So when we're developing new funding programs, it generally starts in my area of our work, ably supported by James Fitzgerald, and who works for Portsmouth City Council as our accountable body there as well, particularly on the finance side. And James is here should there be any specific questions on the nature of loan funding within this context. Restart, Restore, Recover Loan Fund, and I'll just sort of run through some of the sort of key features of that fund. So it's really, I'm just going to move you guys' pictures over to the other side so I can read what I've written here. So it's really around sort of supporting businesses who have been impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. So we'll be looking for those businesses. It's not really aimed at all at businesses that were struggling before COVID and unlikely to survive. It's really those that were good, strong businesses in advance of COVID, and that, you know, in the absence of COVID would have continued on a really strong sort of trajectory, really, and yet we're you know, faced with some significant challenges in the face of this unprecedented economic and health crisis. So just see, we've got, just looking at chat there. That's all right. No, that's fine. Yeah, webinar's being recorded. Sorry, I should have said that as well. Webinar is being recorded, but we'll only record my bits, I think, so that we can go through. Right. We, in terms of the pitching of this fund, it's really around providing a bridging facility of any businesses accessing government support offers. So it could be that they're looking at the Corona Business Interruption Loan Scheme. It may well be that they want some funding sort of as a, you know, to cover a cash flow issue or operating issues now, and would like some loan funding in lieu of receiving that, or also to sort of plug gaps and through our engagement with business representative organisations, local authorities, and directly with businesses as well. You know, we're very aware that there are some gaps in the pretty broad range of funding that government have already put out there that isn't covered, and clearly we're keen to make sure that we offer something that bridges that gap as well. This isn't the extent of our offer. We do have a whole range of other offers that we've had live for some time, including the crowdfunder Pay It Forward campaign, and then specific business resilience funds on the Isle of Wight and New Forest. And we are in the process of looking at a further grant fund for advanced manufacturers as well, but that will follow. But this is our sort of latest offer, and it is a loan fund. Just hoping to move on. There we go. Right. So there are two sort of entry points for this fund, and they're put there on the screen. So loans of between 250,000 and 1.5 million for businesses providing economic lifeline and essential services, which I'll explain in a mo, who need bridging finance ahead of accessing other government support, or for those that need loan finance who cannot access other government support at all. So that's sort of entry point one, and I will define those economic lifeline and essential services in a moment on the next slide. The other entry point is for loans of between 100,000 and 1.5 million, where other COVID-19 support is not available, or the amount businesses can access is insufficient to deliver their recovery plan. And I know, speaking with a company this morning, that particular category is something that might be attractive to them. Yeah, positive. So it's quite a sort of high level loan fund. You know, this isn't going to be for your sort of smaller micro businesses generally, given the although they're open to obviously apply, but given the amount, the sort of starting points of the fund, you know, either 100,000 or 200,000 depending on the two categories, these are, you know, these are chunky amounts of money. So I said I'd define some of those things, and we do have a glossary section within the technical guidance that we'll publish later on. So essential services, I mean, it probably is, you know, as you would expect, it's an established independent company providing a paid-for service that is necessary for the effective and efficient functioning of the economy through the COVID-19 health and economic emergency. So we've got food retailers, pharmacies, passenger and freight transport services. We list a whole range of potential essential services. It's not exhaustive, that list, so if somebody thinks they are providing essential service, that's something that we could certainly have a dialogue with them about through these webinars. Sort of that's the way we would try to channel it in the first instance to save their time of filling in an application form. I think the important point there really is around the established independent nature of the business. So we're not looking to fund, say, Tesco's or Sainsbury's. I'm not sure they'd come to us for a loan anyway, but we wouldn't be looking to sort of fund one of those large retailers. It really is looking at more local independent businesses as well under that essential services category. Economic Lifeline services, so again, established business providing paid for service that is necessary for the effective and efficient running of the economy. And we've sort of got, so we'd sort of, particularly get into the sort of sphere here really of passenger and freight transport services, but not taxis, so not private hire vehicles. Could consider utilities, including broadband and the others that are mentioned there as well. But again, we don't provide an exhaustive list, and happy to have that dialogue through webinars if people have some considerations about that. Bridging finance, I'm sure you'll be familiar with that terminology, but it is, as it explains there on there, it's a short-term loan pending the arrangement of a larger or longer-term financing. And we try to make the document as accessible as possible. So who can apply for this loan? So we sort of list a whole range of bullet points there. Must be a registered company. So limited companies registered with Companies House. That is the thing that we will check. So they should be able to put their company number there on the application form. It doesn't include those working in the voluntary community sector, of course, because they can be registered companies as well. It's really important that the business that we are looking to that is applying for funding is located in the Solent and delivering economic benefits in the Solent area. This is a local fund to drive and growth and support the recovery from COVID-19 for the Solent economy. So whilst in other in other funding we have considered applications from businesses who may be just over the border because they sort of generate economic benefits for the Solent area, in this instance we're just making it pretty simple. You've got to be located in the Solent and not just simply have a headquarter here where you're delivering sort of significant benefits elsewhere. We want to see that your benefits are being delivered here in the Solent for the economy. We will, so businesses will be able to demonstrate that they've been adversely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. This is a loan fund that is responding to COVID-19. So, there will be a clear expectation and requirement that the business will be able to demonstrate quite easily how they've been adversely impacted by COVID-19. We won't bear, businesses would not be able to access COVID-19 funding support through existing government channels, either at all or in a timely manner, and that's where the bridging piece comes in. So it's not saying that if you can access it, you're not eligible, because obviously you might want to top up what you've already got there, or you may need to secure some funding in lieu of that process. Although that process is pretty quick now, to be fair, so that's probably unlikely. It's really important that as the key supporting document to sit alongside the application form, that we have a recovery plan from the business as well that shows the business is sustainable in the medium term. So they need a clear plan to sort of move them through this COVID-19 crisis to a sort of sustainable future. Of course, they won't know what's around the corner. We hear a lot about wave 2s, wave 3s. It's impossible to guess, but it's what we want to see is a strong a strong recovery plan for the sustainable future of that business. The business will need to demonstrate that the funding is needed to support the operating position in the short term. So it's not just something they want to bank because it's interest free for later, but how it will be deployed to support their operating position now. It's really important that those recovery plans are able to be put into action immediately as well. This is all about supporting recovery and getting the economy back ticking and firing on all cylinders, really. So those recovery plans need to be immediately deployable. And we can, businesses need to demonstrate the funds will be repaid. Of course, you know, this is a loan fund, it's not a grant. Those funds will need to be repaid at some point. And that will all be, it will be dependent on the nature of the business, the nature of the project, really, and the dialogue we have with them as part of the application process. So, you know, unlike many of our other funds where there has been sort of clear parameters around sort of timelines, this one will really be a sort of more bespoke one that flows out of discussions with specific businesses. And of course, you know, this funding comes ultimately from government to us, and as part of that, we do need to secure economic outputs. Which in this instance seems sensible to be sort of the, you know, around safeguarding jobs and strengthening the position of the business to sort of have a sustainable future post the sort of COVID-19 pandemic. I'll just pause there because I've seen a few chat keeps flashing in front of me. It looks like they are being answered. I know. Okay, well, we will come to questions at the end. I think is probably best. But please feel free to write them down, and we will pick them up at the end. So key features of the loan fund. Continuing on, you know, this fund can provide loans either interest-free, low interest rates, with repayment holidays as well. And I think all of those features will depend on the nature of the business and the application, and will come out of the dialogue that we have with eligible applications as part of the application process. But I think our starting position, and James will virtually kick me if I'm wrong, is that you know, these will be sort of interest-free loans, and it will only be sort of in exceptional circumstances, most likely, where there is a sort of significant or a potential risk where we would look to apply an interest rate as well, just to reflect that risk on the financing. And we can pick up any questions on that later if they come up. Funding can be used for capital and revenue. So normally our funding can only be used for capital, but in this instance, we're saying capital and or revenue. So that's broader. A loan repayment plan, as I mentioned, will be agreed with the applicant as part of that application process. And that will be very specific to that. Each will probably look different depending on the nature of that application. And we're making loans available for periods of 3 months, probably for those that are seeking just bridging finance, up to a period of 36 months. So, you know, again, in the application form, we'd be looking for an indication from the business of what term they're looking at. And again, you know, when we take that if it's an eligible application, we take it through due diligence. That will be something we consider, and sort of what term we may think is appropriate as well. If businesses want to repay the loan early, ahead of the term, that's absolutely fine, and there will absolutely be no charge on that at all. So there is no penalty for early repayment, which is important. The amount and type of loan offered will reflect the Solent LEP's assessment of the minimum support for the recovery plan and the level of risk involved. So I think I've kind of mentioned that in the preceding. And for those businesses that are seeking loans of over £500,000, we will be also offering them a free dedicated mentoring package as well, which will support them and provide them bespoke one-to-one mentoring from sort of senior business leaders as well. So, and the sort of added value benefit there for those significant loan requests or high level loan requests. Okay, so the application process, fairly straightforward, really, and I try to give an indication of timelines around that, but as I say, they are sort of notional, they are indicative, because each application will be different, and of course, you know, the quality of the information that is provided with applications differs as well. It's very rare we see a perfect application form that leaves us with no questions at all. So there's often a bit of to and froing to clarify things, and that can eat into the time as well. So later today, we will have the guidance and the application form available on the website. The application form is a Word document, so just download it, fill it in. And then once you are content that you have filled that in with all the required information, there is an eligibility check on there for you to do, for applicants to do themselves. It's really important you do that, and do it at an early stage as well, because you may realise that you're not eligible for this fund, and we wouldn't want you to waste your time. Once you are satisfied that you filled in the application, then it needs to be submitted to us, and that can be done at any point. There are no at this moment, there are no application deadline windows, so it can come in as and when, and we will deal with them as and when, because we're looking to be responsive. And the email address there is recover@solentlep.org.uk. So it's a new email address for this specific fund. The team here in the LEP will do an initial eligibility check on that application form, and that will determine really whether it moves forward, or if it's eligible, it will move forward. If it's not, we'll obviously let the applicant know that it's not eligible, and explain the reasons why. And it may well be that there's something that they need to adjust in the application, and then resubmit. Should the application be eligible, we will then look to book a call with the applicant to discuss the application. So within the team, we will have a read through the application so that we understand it, identify any areas of clarification that we need resolved, and we'll have that. We'll try to resolve those through a call with the applicant. And we will then make a decision based on a review of that application on whether it progresses through to a more detailed financial due diligence phase, which will start to consider the nature of the risk on any loan, and things such as repayment holidays, term of loan, and any interest rates as well. We'll then make a recommendation based on our due diligence of the application to the LEP board, or the funding finance performance group within the LEP, and they will make a final decision. So the decision will be final, it will be with them, and there is no right of appeal. And for any applicants who are successful and want to take up the loan offer, we then enter into a loan funding agreement with the applicant as well. Right, almost there, I think. Supporting inquiries. So we'll be hosting weekly webinars. So we've got webinars at this time booked in for next week and the week after. We'll take stock then of interest on the fund, because we're really not sure which way this fund will go, I think, if we're honest. And we will see where we get to then. But I imagine, my sense is that for the next 3 weeks we'll definitely be doing weekly webinars, and that is the entry point. Now they can phone the LEP and our Growth Hub, applicants can to just ask some questions, but they will be directed to these webinars. This is the point where we're trying to channel questions, because we've got a very small team, and we're operating a whole range of funds at the moment and pretty much at capacity. So we're trying to channel and funnel all inquiries into a specific weekly session, which will be the weekly webinars. We will put a video of this slide presentation up with me stuttering my way through it, and interruptions on the questions as well, as I realise that's not going to look great, but there we go. As we go through, just to make sure that this is available should anybody want to access that resource, and hopefully next week's will be a bit less stumbly as well as we go through. So key dates, we're launching it today, Thursday 4th of June. Got the first webinar today, thank you. And as I said, webinars have already been put into Eventbrite, I believe, by Soph there on the call for the 11th and 18th of June. And as I said earlier, we will accept applications on an ongoing basis. So when the applicant is ready to submit their application, they submit it to recover@solentlep.org.uk, and we will continue on that basis until all funding has been allocated, or until the 31st of August this year, whichever is the soonest. We'll take stock at that point, and see where we get to.